After being blacklisted across the internet for plagiarism, I publicly announced my retirement from writing. My boyfriend, who had been indignantly criticizing me, froze. "What are you doing? Didn't you say you still have a lot of debts to pay off?" His victim of the plagiarism incident, his white moonlight, also panicked. "Vivi, you don't have to punish yourself like this. I'm willing to give you a chance to start over." I looked at the flashing camera lights below the stage. My expression unwavering. In my past life, the two of them humiliated me while secretly collaborating to steal my creative work. In the end, the words I had painstakingly written contributed to Chin Ruoruo's reputation as a genius writer. Given a second chance, I immediately deactivated the author pen name I had used for 6 years. I've had enough of squeezing into this rented apartment. It's time to go home and inherit the family fortune. As for Chin Ruoruo, let's see how you manage to complete the remaining half of the work. Ms. Meng, you keep saying you have evidence to prove you didn't plagiarize, so, where is the evidence? As your former reader, I really don't want to believe you would do such a thing. Were your previous works truly written by you? Faced with countless microphones thrust toward me, I was stunned for a moment, then my heart began to race wildly. I have been reborn. Reborn on the very day I held a press conference to prove my innocence. In my past life, my boyfriend's White Moonlight plagiarized the novel I wrote based on my own unrequited love story. On the day of the book launch, it soared to the top of the website's bestseller list, creating a sales myth for youth campus novels. After being reposted by major influencers and marketing accounts, countless netizens exclaimed that it was deeply moving. I originally intended to share my original drafts as proof. But unexpectedly, on the day of the press conference, all my files were cleared, leaving not a single trace behind. I experienced unprecedented online violence, receiving wreaths, black and white photos, and terrifying packages from all over every day. I gritted my teeth and continued creating, but in the end, I was tracked down by an overzealous anti-fan and stabbed to death with a flurry of knives. At this moment, after just a moment of hesitation, my loving boyfriend of 3 years, Xue Chen, couldn't help but launch into a passionate tirade. "Meng Weiwei, if you say Ruo is slandering you, then provide evidence. Don't make baseless accusations and throw mud at others." He glared at me angrily, yet a flicker of triumph flashed in his eyes. Of course, how could he not know what was in my folder? What he wanted was to ruin my reputation and make Chin Ruoruo the new rising star among writers. I lowered my eyes, picked up my laptop, and walked over to the projection stand. "Power on. Project the screen." The next second, under the astonished gazes of everyone, I deleted the pen name I had used for 6 years. Xue Chen and Chin Ruoruo immediately stood up. I spoke coldly. "Everyone, today I have been wronged, and all the evidence has been destroyed by those with ulterior motives, making it difficult for me to defend myself. From today onwards, this pen name is void. I am putting down my pen for good and will never set foot in the online literature circle again." After I finished speaking, I grabbed my laptop and was about to leave, but Xue Chenfei rushed over like a gust of wind, blocking my way. "What are you doing? Didn't you say you still have a lot of debts to repay? You're just going to stop writing like that? Didn't you always say that writing was your biggest dream?" Chin Ruoruo panicked as well. She walked over, her eyes brimming with tears. "Vivi, you don't have to punish yourself like this. I'm willing to give you a chance to start over." I sneered as I watched the two of them perform. The next second, Chin Ruoruo suddenly bit her lip and knelt down before me on the spot. "Vivi, I beg you, please don't leave the circle over such a small matter. Your readers will definitely not let me off the hook. I can delete all the information, pretend none of this ever happened. If you leave the circle, my guilt will be immense. I won't write anymore either." The click, click, sound of camera shutters instantly focused on her. The editor who originally belonged to me couldn't help but step forward to help her up. "What are you talking about, Ruoruo? Why are you kneeling to a plagiarist? She brought this upon herself. You just signed a top-tier contract with the company. Don't forget, there's still work to be done." I couldn't be bothered to stay and endure the attacks, so I simply left the scene, to avoid being surrounded by reporters. I deliberately took a detour and hailed a taxi from the back door to return to my rented apartment. On the way back, my Weibo notifications kept popping up. I clicked to find that 4 of the top 10 trending topics were about me. Hashtag Meng Weiwei plagiarism. Hashtag Meng Weiwei Chin Ruoruo. Hashtag Hashtag Chin Ruoruo forced to kneel. Hashtag Chin Ruoruo's ghostwriter. Hashtag. The unscrupulous marketing accounts have denied all the works I have ever created. They have claimed that everything was plagiarized from Chin Ruoruo's ideas. Threatening Chin Ruoruo to become my ghostwriter, my Weibo comments are filled with nothing but criticism. Damn, that's disgusting. I can't believe I was a fan of a plagiarist. I watched the live press conference. Meng Weiwei was so cornered she didn't dare say a word, and in the end, she even forced Chin Ruoruo to kneel. At least you have the self-awareness to quit writing and leave the circle, or else I would have made sure you were finished. Even your own boyfriend has come forward to accuse you. Meng Weiwei, what have you done? I think she's made enough money and is running away now. I support Chin Ruoruo in taking her to court and making her face the consequences. My back-end comments are also filled with nothing but foul language. In contrast, Chin Ruoruo's Weibo followers have skyrocketed, with a flood of warm and encouraging comments below. I made a comment. Then I wish you can continue to update daily and complete the latter part. Don't let the readers down. I know, I don't have much saved drafts left. Chin Ruoruo was too impatient, worried that I would publish without finishing my stockpile of drafts, so she simply struck first, but she couldn't follow through on the foreshadowing and Easter eggs I had set up earlier. Exposing her was just a matter of time. I returned to the rental apartment, the 90 square meter space. Neither too big nor too small, was arranged by me to be warm and comfortable. On the old wall are photos pasted into the shape of a heart, photos of me and Shuechen together, but each one was secretly taken by me and developed by someone else. He never agreed to take a photo with me. He also refused to post on social media, and on anniversaries, he would resort to cold violence and disappear in advance. I've been paying for the rent and utilities all these years. And I've also covered most of the expenses for our meals, shopping, and outings. I immediately faced the pressure of paying a penalty fee and asked the landlord to terminate the lease, throw away what needs to be thrown, and pack up as quickly as possible. Just as I was busy as a bee, someone knocked on my door. I opened the door and found Shuechen and Chin Ruoruo. Vivi, are you moving? As soon as Chin Ruoruo entered the room, she insincerely grasped my hand, and I coldly pulled it away. And Shuechen looked at me coldly, the disdain in his brow unmistakable. Moving, as far as I know, her father passed away from illness long ago. All the money she's earned from writing over the years has been used to pay off the medical bills her father owed back then. She can barely afford the monthly rent of 2,000 for this place. If she moves, it'll probably only be to some shabby single-room dormitory. I looked at him expressionlessly. What do you want? Shuechen spoke with disgust. Apologize to Ruoruo and publicly admit that you plagiarized. My eyebrow twitched. Is this something a human would say? I angrily questioned him. Shuechen, don't you know the truth? All these years, you've been eating my food and drinking my drinks. How do you have the nerve to say such a thing now? Shuechen's expression didn't soften in the slightest as he spoke with righteous indignation. Just because you're an unemployed drifter with no parents. While Ruoruo has been the princess everyone adores since school, whatever she wants, I'll help her get it. You probably don't know, but Ruoruo's parents are middle school teachers. She's 1,000 times better than you in every way. My boyfriend, who has been with me since college, is now attacking me with the most vicious words. He only knows that I come from a single-parent family and moved out due to disagreements with my mother. Little did they know. My mother is the general manager of the Asia-Pacific region for a multinational corporation. After my father passed away, he left us an inheritance worth 9 figures. It can be said that if I hadn't chosen to stay here back then to avoid inheriting the family business, I will be someone Shuechen can never reach in his entire life. Seeing that I remained silent, Shuechen thought his attack had taken effect and continued with a cold sneer. Some are born princesses, while others, no matter how hard they try, remain nothing but unseen maids. If I were you, I'd slink away right now and leave everything here for Ruoruo. What are you still standing there for? Get on Weibo and apologize to Ruoruo publicly right now, or don't blame me for being harsh. But the next second, I raised my hand and gave Shuechen a solid slap. I hit him so hard that Shuechen's face turned to the side, his eyes widened, instantly filling with red veins. Meng Weiwei, how dare you hit someone? Chin Ruoruo screamed and immediately took 2 steps back, pulling out her phone to start recording. However, I was 1 step ahead and knocked her phone away. then swung my suitcase, sending both of them tumbling aside. I vented my anger frantically, smashing whatever was within reach, since I had no intention of keeping anything anyway. If you like my things so much, then you can have them all. The surroundings were in complete disarray, with shattered items scattered everywhere in sight. I pulled open the door and strode away from this place I had called home for 3 years. I called my mother. Though we hadn't been in touch for years, she answered the phone immediately when I dialed. In that moment, my tears flowed uncontrollably. In my previous life, from the time I left in anger after graduating from university until I was killed, I never had a chance to speak to my mother. I dare not imagine how devastated she must have been upon hearing the news of my death, this time. I just want to be my mother's little useless sweetheart. It's good to be home, it's good to be home. My mother's voice kept trembling, and in the end, she could only repeat these 4 words. Soon, I boarded the flight back to Shanghai. Before boarding, I glanced at Weibo and found that Qin Ruoruo had hypocritically posted another message. Sorry everyone, I need to take a break from writing for a while. Recent events have left me feeling a bit overwhelmed. And Meng Weiwei has always been a senior I deeply admire. I'd like to request some time off to properly adjust myself. Meanwhile, my editor Li Fei, who had always shown me great care, quickly reposted this Weibo post. Dear readers, please give Ruoruo some time to bring you even better works. Next month, we will be holding a fan meet and greet event in Shanghai, and everyone is welcome to attend. It was clear that they were aiming to mold Qin Ruoruo into a trending author. I sighed, turned off my phone, and fell into a deep sleep. When I got off the plane, my mother had already brought the driver and bodyguards to pick me up in a Rolls-Royce. She said she had already heard about what happened to me and was planning to ask friends to step in for public relations while also contacting a lawyer to file a lawsuit. We will pursue this matter to the end. There's no way I'll let my precious daughter suffer any injustice. I lay in my mother's arms, her hand continuously stroking my back, her chin gently resting on my forehead. The car was filled with all kinds of exquisite dishes, along with the drinks I used to love the most. My mother, worried that I might be hungry, had started preparing the moment she received my call. I hugged my mother tightly. Don't worry, Mom, there's no need to go to all that trouble, I said with a smile. Soon, the real plagiarist will face the consequences of their actions. Moving back into our family's big villa felt absolutely amazing. No more waking up early to buy groceries and prepare 3 meals a day, and I didn't have to do my own laundry anymore. The balance in my card has so many zeros I can't even count them, and I never have to worry about rent or expenses again. My mom specially set up a study for me. It has walls of books and a top-of-the-line computer, supporting me in doing anything I want. Every morning, I can bask in the sun by the floor-to-ceiling window, do yoga and skincare, and enjoy a full-course imperial feast at noon, enjoying afternoon tea while shopping in the afternoon, learning horseback riding, yoga, and golf. In the evening, a glass of red wine, soaking in a spacious bathtub, and being lulled to sleep by a tuner specially hired by my mother. My physical fitness and mental state have greatly improved, reaching a much higher level than before. However, at the same time, as Qin Ruoruo's long-term hiatus continued, discontent gradually emerged online. People are starting to question, can Qin Ruoruo actually write? Could it be that what Meng Weiwei said back then was true? There's no reason to stop updating for so long when you're at the peak of your popularity. It shows a complete lack of professionalism. Are you just playing with everyone? Hurry up and refund the money. Qin Ruoruo was also getting anxious, logging onto Weibo more and more frequently. I know her very well. She has had a pretty appearance since childhood, has always relied on men, and has no real talent or learning. Getting her to write a few words is harder than killing her. Moreover, this book of mine is entirely based on my own real-life experiences, recounting the unrequited crush I had on a senior back in the day. Even if Xuechen knows me well, he can only recount individual incidents to Qin Ruoruo, so Qin Ruoruo, unable to withstand the pressure, reluctantly wrote a chapter under Xuechen's guidance. The data plummeted like a cliff dive, and the flood of scathing comments quickly forced her to delete it, so she once again played the victim on Weibo, claiming she was sick and undergoing surgery, truly unable to do anything about it. But she also promised that she would deliver a work that satisfies everyone at the offline meetup. That day, while I was browsing Hermes, thinking about which bag would go with my new outfit. My editor Lee Fei suddenly messaged me, saying she wanted to meet. Vivi, I see your IP address is in Shanghai. Coincidentally, I'm here on a business trip too. Let's have a good chat. Perhaps I've misunderstood some things about you. My heart trembled. I thought I was about to be vindicated. Little did I expect that Li Fei came to me this time to persuade me to continue helping Qin Ruoruo complete her work. In the coffee shop, Li Fei glanced at the Chanel new release I was wearing and let out a light, slightly disdainful chuckle. Name your price. Wei Wei, I know your family is in a difficult situation. How much will it take for you to continue writing? Qin Ruoruo is now the golden signboard of our website. She has already generated huge profits for us. And the website is absolutely determined to protect her. In those few minutes of silence, it felt as if an entire century had passed. Your pen name has already been deactivated, and your former readers are gone. Besides, back then, you only achieved success because the website put in the effort to promote you. Li Fei pushed the coffee cup aside and leaned forward. 500,000. Enough to replace your current outfit with a genuine one. And to help you continue pursuing what you want to do. Looking at her meaningful gaze, my face completely darkened. What kind of person does Li Fei think I am, and what does she think I'm doing in Shanghai now? Fine, I forced the words out through gritted teeth. No problem, I've already outlined it. I just need 3 days to fill in the remaining 100,000 words for you. Li Fei stood up excitedly. Great, it's a deal then. I'll wait for you here in 3 days. I grabbed my bag and turned to leave. After returning home, I immediately turned on my computer and began writing based on the outline I had previously drafted in my notebook. Perhaps after the recent period of rest, my inspiration and energy are both at their peak. 3 days later, I handed her the manuscript with dark circles under my eyes. Li Fei was overjoyed. Yet she remained cautious and first reviewed the manuscript in front of me. Only after confirming there were no issues did he let out a sigh of relief, transferred the 500,000 to me on the spot, and signed a confidentiality contract with me. But Li Fei didn't know, once these drafts are uploaded to the website, the formatting won't be the same as it is now. At that time, the first character of the middle few lines will form a sentence together. Qin Ruoruo is the real plagiarist. After receiving the manuscript, Qin Ruoruo seemed to rejuvenate overnight. Even daring to directly confront her haters, she posted the word count of the document and angrily exclaimed, I will never hastily churn out a work just for the sake of traffic. What I want is a masterpiece, something I can be proud of. This domineering declaration won her even more favor. With the square uniformly filled with support, I scrolled through her comments section, and one person named, Protect Ruo for Life, stood out particularly. This user's Weibo is all about Qin Ruoruo. Inside, it records countless round-trip tickets over 3 years, and numerous carefully observed notes on the girl's preferences. From his historical profile pictures, I discovered that he is Xue Chen. Only then did I realize that when he confessed to me after graduating from college, it was just to upset Qin Ruoruo. Soon, Qin Ruoruo's reader meet and greet event arrived. She announced in advance that she would upload the remaining content of the book on the spot, allowing readers to enjoy it all at once. This is so captivating that on the day of the meet and greet, the entire hall was packed to the brim. Passers-by who didn't know what was happening might have thought a popular celebrity had arrived. Readers held up their self-made fan signs, their cheers practically reaching the heavens. Ah, my Ruoruo is so beautiful in person. Not only is the goddess incredibly talented, but she's also so beautiful. How is anyone else supposed to compete? I love your book so much. Can I get your autograph? I'm going to go crazy with excitement. When is it going to be published? I'm going to buy 10 copies to keep as treasures. Don't push, you're blocking me. In response to readers' questions, Qin Ruoruo answered them all according to what Xue Chen had taught her. Of course, the senior is outstanding. He went abroad right after graduation. He is the white moonlight in my youth memories. I only dared to deliberately pass by their classroom on the way after class. And he would always be standing in the corridor, laughing and chatting with others. I always looked forward to group runs during the break and eating in the cafeteria, because it gave me a legitimate reason to be closer to him. Back then, I specifically bought a VIP membership just to secretly browse his profile. Whenever I saw him, I didn't dare to look up and deliberately acted all cold. Haha, even now, he probably has no idea I ever liked him. Chin Ruoro's expression was shy and timid. Just like a schoolgirl secretly in love with her crush, when speaking of certain moments, she would also lower the corners of her eyes, as if reliving the pain of a secret crush. Finally, the most exhilarating moment has arrived. The remaining manuscript of Chin Ruoro's book is projected on the large screen. This highly anticipated book has finally come to a close. Readers also took out their phones, opened Chin Ruoro's book, and sent tips and votes. The venue was filled with sighs of admiration, with everyone unanimously agreeing that this was a masterpiece, and the latter part was even more tear-jerking than the beginning. Gradually, sobbing sounds began to rise, until someone sharp-eyed noticed something amiss. Wait, what does this mean on page 3 of chapter 98? Why does the opening line read as if Chin Ruoro is the one who plagiarized? The entire audience erupted in an uproar. Someone immediately responded, "Holy shit, it's true. I was wondering why there's suddenly a character with the surname Chin. Could the original author of this book really be someone else? Oh my god, what kind of supernatural event is this? Or is the original author hinting at the truth in a subtle way? Have we been deceived all along?" The scene was chaotic, and the staff quickly withdrew and removed the new chapter. But many people had already seen it. The book fans were outraged, clamoring for Chin Ruoro to give an explanation, and she reacted quickly, immediately screaming, "This is absurd, utterly absurd, absolutely impossible. This is my original work. My manuscript has been tampered with. Who touched my computer? It definitely wasn't like this before." But immediately, a reader retorted, "Who could have touched your computer? Don't you always carry it with you? What a coincidence that it was tampered with today. If you have the guts, write an extra chapter on the spot to prove yourself. If the writing style and plot are consistent, we'll believe you. Just write it quickly. Start writing right now. Don't you always say you want to give back to your readers? Writing a side story shouldn't be too much trouble, right?" Faced with the swarm of microphones, Chin Ruoro clutched her chest. Feigning a sudden heart attack, she gasped for breath twice, then closed her eyes and fell straight backward. Now the entire venue was in complete chaos, with many book fans rushing onto the stage, demanding that the staff restore the deleted chapters. Xue Chen was also the first to rush out from the crowd, scooping her up in his arms, his eyes wide with fury as he roared for a doctor. He brushed past me as he rushed out, just as I was standing on the outermost edge. At that moment, the scene was already boiling over, with everyone rushing onto the stage to get a clear look at the words on the big screen. Chin Ruoro herself was no longer the focus of the reader's attention. "Meng Weiwei, how dare you show your face? I'm sure today's incident was all you're doing." Xue Chen's face was terrifyingly dark, and the way he looked at me was as if I were his father's murderer. "You're jealous that Ruoro has my affection, so you've always had it in for her. I know that, but your methods today are just too despicable. You simply can't stand to see the person I like doing well, and you're determined to ruin her. You bitch, just you wait. If anything happens to Ruoro today, I'll take your life." He roared at me, like a general enraged for the sake of a beauty. Just as Xue Chen was about to shove past my shoulder and rush out, I spoke up lightly as well. "Xue Chen, do you think I was with you just because I liked you?" His footsteps faltered, turning around with my whole body tensed up. "You know, the person I had a crush on went abroad right after college. The reason I agreed to your confession was, first, to heal from the heartbreak, and second," I smiled and pointed at the tip of his nose, "you have a small mole here, just like him. It's just a shame that a stand-in can never compare to the real thing." After Chin Ruoro's whole spectacle, the website originally intended to build a personal brand through this event and successfully cash in on the traffic, but it all came to nothing. Instead, they were met with overwhelming criticism and skepticism. People started digging up the past disputes between me and Chin Ruoro, calling out the website's official team. Meng Weiwei has been writing for years, with every book hitting the bestseller list. I was skeptical from the start when someone like her was accused of plagiarism, but it was your official endorsement of Chin Ruoro that made us believe it. Chin Ruoro's speech at the meet and greet was completely illogical and lacked substance. Aside from answering those questions about secret crushes, who can guarantee that it wasn't a pre-written script? I read the article she posted a while ago and quickly deleted. It was as shallow as something a primary school student would write. Could this be her real level? I've never seen such a website before. Twisting right and wrong just for traffic. if I recharge again after getting a refund. I'm a dog, you all deserve to die. For a plagiarist, you drove away your own veteran expert. Truly, you reap what you sow. However, some netizens are willing to let the dust settle first. The only way to prove Chin Ruoro now is to have her code on the spot for everyone to see, otherwise, she's just a plagiarist. But Chin Ruoro had always intended to use this book to gain enough traffic and pursue a career in self-media. She never put in any real effort from start to finish, on Weibo. She posted one meticulously edited photo after another, paying more attention to the praise for her beauty. Now the website has also realized what happened, but it can't escape the sharp drop in market value, suffering the backlash of the traffic. The boss, in a fit of anger, directly fired Li Fei and took Chin Ruoruo around to various drinking parties, seeking help from others. I heard that Chin Ruoruo was dressed up like a colorful butterfly, but the reasons behind it are hard to judge. This website is merely trying to make a last-ditch effort. My mother knows all the circles in Shanghai, and she has already asked all her friends to ignore them, and today, unfortunately, the person the CEO turned to for help was my mother. When my mom showed me the invitation message from the other party, I almost burst out laughing. Baby, this game has gone on long enough. How about I just reject him outright and then contact a lawyer to file a lawsuit? I smiled and stopped my mom. It's okay. Mom, tell him to let Chin Ruoro handle this drinking session. I haven't had a proper conversation with her in a long time. A few days later, Chin Ruoro appeared in the hotel lobby, dressed to the nines, with Shuechen accompanying her as her assistant. At that moment, I was feeding the small fish by the rockery in the lobby when I heard a sharp shout from afar. Meng Weiwei. Shuechen was the first to stride over, grabbing my arm firmly. Why are you so persistent, following me here again? His grip was so tight it hurt, and without hesitation, I slapped his hand away. Take your dirty hands off me. Is this place owned by you? Are you the only one allowed to be here? Meng Weiwei, do you even know this hotel costs 888 per person? Are you worthy of standing here? Chin Ruoruo tore off all pretense, glaring at me with intense resentment. You're just destined to live in a rented apartment. Your boyfriend doesn't love you, and you don't deserve anything good in this lifetime. She spared no effort in attacking me, thinking these words would cause me pain, yet, I simply uttered a sentence with a light touch. Anyway, today I am here as a guest, and you, could it be that someone invited you to dinner as well? You, Chin Ruoruo was instantly put in her place. Fuming, her chest heaved as she struggled to calm herself, then sneered coldly, Guest, looks like you've become some rich man's mistress since coming to Shanghai. How did someone like you get into such a high-class place? Are you kidding me? Do you even know who I'm here to meet today? Ms. Feng Zhao. If you're that clueless, go look it up online. I bet your sugar daddy isn't even worth one of Ms. Feng's fingers. Shuechen immediately joined forces with Chin Ruoruo in their shared resentment. Exactly, Meng Weiwei, don't be so arrogant. When you're eventually tossed aside after being used, you'll have to face the consequences. I looked at him expressionlessly. I'm keeping track of every word Shuechen says now. Today, I'll make sure he doesn't leave here alive. What left both of them dumbfounded soon appeared. Before long, my mother walked in with a few assistants, swift and decisive. Ms. Feng, I'm Ruoruo. It's such an honor to finally meet you. Chin Ruoruo immediately stepped forward with flattery to introduce herself, but my mother didn't even glance at her. She walked straight up to me, took my hand, and gently rubbed it in her palm, asking with utmost tenderness, Are you cold? What are you doing standing at the door? Let's go in and order. Isn't this your favorite restaurant? Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Chin Ruoruo's expression freeze. Ms. Feng, I deliberately imitated Chin Ruoruo's tone. Please go ahead in first. I'll be there shortly. My mother understood what I meant. She nodded and specifically arranged 2 bodyguards for me before going upstairs. What's going on here? Chin Ruoruo immediately turned to Shuechen. Why does she seem so close to Feng Zhao? Could Feng Zhao be her mother? Shuechen frowned and immediately denied it. How could that be? Look at how shabby Meng Weiwei is. Does she look like that kind of wealthy young lady? I've heard that some rich women have some pretty twisted hobbies. Maybe Feng Zhao just developed them as she got older. Before Shuechen could finish speaking, I had already signaled with my eyes for the bodyguards to carry him aside and deal with him. What are you doing? Are you hitting someone in broad daylight? I'm going to call the police. Help, someone save me. Xue Chen was dragged out like a little chick, and he quickly became terrified, his voice trembling. I'm here to meet an important person. If you treat me like this, she won't let you off. Yet these well-trained bodyguards turned a deaf ear to it, aiming specifically at the areas under his clothes, delivering heavy blows to punish this mouth that spreads rumors and spews filth without restraint. Xue Chen was soon beaten until blood seeped from the corner of his mouth, lying on the ground barely alive, like a dead dog, and Qin Ruoruo glanced at him with disgust before turning her face away. In her eyes, this guy was nothing more than a dispensable admirer. She had never felt the slightest affection for Xue Chen. What makes you think you can latch onto a rich woman's coattails? Meng Weiwei, I never expected you to be like this, relying on your act of playing weak and pitiful just now. Is that it? Seeing my mom appear on the stairs about to come down, Qin Ruoruo quickly grabbed my hand and slapped herself hard across the face. Then, crying, she ran towards my mother and shouted, "Ms. Feng, please save me." This Meng Weiwei not only plagiarized my work before, but now she's threatening me and even trying to attack me. Please help me. The entire lobby echoed with Qin Ruoruo's heart-wrenching cries. With disheveled hair and a deathly pale face, she put on an extremely convincing act, enough to stir a protective instinct in anyone who saw her. However, before she could even reach my mother's hand, she was mercilessly pushed away by the bodyguards. Qin Ruoruo couldn't retract her force in time and fell to the ground in one go. Ms. Feng, I beg you to stand up for me. This Meng Weiwei is truly despicable. She is not as innocent as she appears to you. In fact, in private, shut up. My mother spoke sternly. I had never seen her wear such a terrifying expression before. She glared at Qin Ruoruo, a storm raging in her eyes. So you are Qin Ruoruo. Qin Ruoruo was so frightened that her breath hitched. But she still couldn't give up and wanted to try one more time, speaking weakly. It's me, ma'am. Please don't pay attention to the online criticism. I've been framed. My mother sneered coldly. Do you know what relationship Meng Weiwei has with me? Qin Ruoruo's expression froze. At the same time, the CEO of the website had somehow appeared at the entrance of the hotel. He had clearly rushed over in a hurry, sweating profusely. With his legs trembling uncontrollably, he stumbled in. His voice more unpleasant than crying. I'm sorry, Ms. Feng. I didn't know Weiwei was your daughter. It was all our fault for offending you. At the end of the day, the boss threatened to demand an exorbitant penalty for breach of contract, forcing Qin Ruoruo to kneel and apologize to me. Qin Ruoruo was filled with resentment, but the boss directly pressed her head to the ground. It turns out it was all your doing. You little wretch. I was wondering how Weiwei, as a veteran expert on our website, could get involved in such a mess, the boss said, his eyes darting around while gritting his teeth. You shameless thing, you can't write on your own, so you plagiarize others' work. I trusted you so much, I was such a fool, we were all played by you. The angrier he got, the more he spoke, and he grabbed Qin Ruoruo's hair and slapped her twice. Qin Ruoruo's face immediately swelled up, and she couldn't hold back anymore, bursting into tears. The boss immediately cursed. How dare you cry? You dare to do it but not own up to it. You've tarnished our website's reputation. Who would dare invest in us now? You're truly a rotten apple that spoils the whole barrel. If you don't have the skills, don't take on the task. How dare you frame and harm others? I must have been blind to have an author like you. I just watched them fight like dogs, sneering coldly. I still remember everything Li Fei did to me on behalf of the website back then. Now he wants to clear his name. That's impossible. You have the nerve to show up here. Get on Weibo right now and post an apology statement for me. The boss clearly came here well prepared. He had already drafted a message in advance, forcing Qin Ruoruo to post it on Weibo, making her admit to the fact that she plagiarized and publicly apologized to me. This Weibo post quickly went viral and topped the trending searches as soon as it was published. Netizens finally had the speculated truth confirmed, and in their grief and anger, they were filled with immense regret. We drove away a dedicated author who poured her heart into writing. The hashtags #apologize to Meng Weiwei and #welcome Meng Weiwei home began to climb steadily. The square was filled with my former book fans, tearfully reminiscing about the days when they first started following my updates. Vivi is truly amazing, updating 3 times a day without fail, rain or shine. I was just in elementary school back then, and now I'm almost graduating from high school. I've read every one of her books, and I never believed she would plagiarize or hire any ghostwriter. It's really hard to accept, after she stopped writing. There's no substitute for her work online. My spiritual nourishment is gone. Vivi, please come back soon. I've saved up so many monthly votes for you. And I'll give them all to you. The boss presented his phone to my mother as if offering a treasure, thinking she would let it go and help him make a comeback. However, faced with the boss's calculating gaze, my mother just coldly dropped one sentence: "We have already prepared the evidence. Your website, along with this girl, can expect to face a lawsuit." Not only was Chin Ruoruo disgraced, but the story between Xue Chen and me was also compiled by fans and then shared. It turns out that Xue Chen had been relentlessly pursuing Chin Ruoruo for years, willing to do anything for his beloved goddess. In fact, he was the one who masterminded this plagiarism incident of swapping the cat for the prince. Damn, this scumbag, always wanting more than he can handle. I thought he was doing the right thing by turning in his own, but turns out he was helping his ex screw over his girlfriend. What the hell, is he even human? A total beast. Mooching off others while ruining lives. Absolutely despicable. These two trashy people should just stay together and rot. Never seen anyone so disgusting. Sisters, I even found this scumbag's secret Weibo account. He really has been biting the hand that feeds him all along. The online violence and doxing that fell upon me in my previous life have now been returned to Chin Ruoruo and Xue Chen with interest. And because they posted too many Weibo updates. Their specific addresses were easily pinpointed. Xue Chen was originally hospitalized, but ended up being visited in creative ways every day by outraged and enthusiastic citizens. He soon couldn't bear the burden and forced himself to be discharged from the hospital. He realized that clinging to his unattainable crush would only lead to nothing, and several times he wanted to reach out to me to reconcile. But how could the angry netizens give him a chance to catch his breath? He finally found himself overwhelmed, losing everything to pay compensation before slinking back to his hometown, burdened with illness. As for Chin Ruoruo, her situation was much more tragic. On one hand, she had to deal with the lawsuit. On the other, she faced the massive compensation demanded by the website, along with the overwhelming online abuse. She soon couldn't bear it anymore and began to suffer from mental health issues. Late one night, after seeing red paint splattered on her door once again, she completely broke down and jumped from the building. At that time, upon learning all this, I was working with my mom to prepare a new website. We wanted to provide every young person passionate about creation with an equal opportunity. Here, everyone can freely unleash their imagination and write the stories they want to tell. Let 100 flowers bloom, and let everyone speak their mind freely. I think this is what literary creation should truly be like. The end. After being recognized as a member of a wealthy family for the 3rd time, I can't be bothered to fight anymore. When the fake heiress fell down the stairs, before the whole family could question me, I admitted it outright. I pushed her. Punish me. Hearing the family sigh. If only Nguyen Nguyen were our real daughter. I brushed it off as if it were just wind in my ears and turned to leave. I don't fight or compete. No longer going crazy and breaking down because they favor the fake heiress. But the whole family refuses to accept it. Mom asked with red eyes, "Why do you treat me like an outsider now?" My eldest brother frowned. "Are you using this trick to force us to admit our mistake?" My second brother, who dislikes me the most, sneered. "Chin Xia, what evil scheme are you plotting again?" What scheme could I possibly have? It's just that, having been recognized for less than half a year, I've been driven away twice in a row and suffered greatly. I get it now. Rather than groveling and trying to please, better to firmly grasp the comfortable life before you, the best learning resources, and the connections of a wealthy family. As for the love of the Chin family, what does it even count for? This is the 3rd time I've been recognized and brought back to the Chin family. I've completely given up. Before anyone could start blaming me, I stepped forward and admitted it right after Chin Wan fell down the stairs. Yes, I pushed her. Go ahead and punish me. The first to rush out of the room, my eldest brother Qin Zheng, paused and looked at me. "Why are you punishing you? You were on the 1st floor, and Nuanyuan was on the 2nd floor. It couldn't have been you who pushed her." I suddenly understood. That's right. The days after being sent back to my adoptive parents' home were too harsh. I woke up earlier than the rooster, slept later than the dog, nearly dropped out of school, and was almost sold off to an old bachelor. Having endured much hardship, one develops a habit of being easily startled. Oh, okay, I nodded, my expression sincere and polite, just a bit of a conditioned reflex. Sorry about that. Qin Zheng was stunned, not uttering a word for a long time, nor did he scold me without question as he usually did. I thought it was because I admitted my mistake too quickly, disrupting his process of accusation, which made him somewhat displeased, so I considerately added, or would you prefer to go through the process first? Qin Zheng's brows furrowed even tighter, his lips moved slightly, but he remained silent. Seeing that he still wouldn't speak up, I shrugged and simply turned to leave. At that moment, my second brother, Qin Feng, arrived belatedly. He glanced at me, then looked at the fallen Qin Wan, and immediately flew into a rage. Qin Xia, you've just been brought back and you dare to bully Wan. He glared at me, pointing fiercely. Haven't you learned your lesson yet? Do you still want to be kicked out of the Qin family? My face turned pale. Looking at Qin Zheng, he was taken aback, turned his head away, and didn't explain for me. Following behind him, Mrs. Qin also avoided my gaze and went to help Qin Nuanyuan. I curled the corner of my mouth, looked at him, and said in a flat tone, "It's my fault. I shouldn't have stood at the stairway, blocking the light and dazzling people's eyes, causing the precious Miss Qin to misjudge the steps." Qin Feng choked for a moment, then grew even angrier. What kind of attitude is that? Go back to your room and reflect on what you've done. Father Qin's roar followed closely behind. All right, I didn't argue. Countless times in the past, I argued with reason, only to end up in a worse situation. Seeing that I wasn't crying or making a scene as I used to, Qin's mother was somewhat taken aback, looking at me as if she wanted to say something but hesitated. At that moment, Qin Nuanyuan clutched her ankle and let out a low cry. Qin's mother immediately turned around and anxiously leaned in closer. What's wrong, sweetie? Where does it hurt? Let mommy take a look. Qin Xia is really something, standing at the top of the stairs for no reason and scaring people. Doesn't she know Wan is timid? Qin's mother glanced at me and complained, see, those who love you will love you no matter what, those who don't love you will find countless reasons to criticize you, whether you cry and make a fuss or behave obediently. I shrugged my shoulders, stopped looking at them, and turned around to go back to my room, closed the door, locked it. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the cheerful laughter outside the door. I lowered my eyes. It seems I can never truly fit into this family, no matter how hysterically I fought for it, or how much I step back now. The outcome never seems to change. I pouted, then simply got up from the bed and spread out the exam papers. There's no need to force your way into a circle that doesn't accept you. Instead of wasting time on sentimental sorrows, it's better to work through a few more practice papers. Go ahead and have fun. I'll quietly outwork everyone in secret. The first time I stepped into the Qin family home, I knew right away that I didn't fit in with them. I was wearing dirty sneakers and a faded old-school uniform, my eyes filled with unease. Across from me, Qin Nuanyuan was dressed in a pink princess dress, with her two older brothers standing on either side of her like guardian angels. Seeing me, there was not a hint of joy in his eyes, especially my second brother, Qin Feng. He shielded Qin Nuanyuan behind him, his face full of wariness, as if I were a thief come to steal everything from his precious sister. At that time, I couldn't understand. I am the one who shares a blood bond with them. I am their biological sister. It should be Qin Wan who stole my life. But no one thinks that way. At least, the Qin family doesn't. Yet, Qin Wan was exceptionally outstanding. She could play the piano, perform ballet, and her academic performance was decent. Who wouldn't like an outstanding child? The Qin family was naturally no exception. The dinner table was always filled with the Qin family's praise for her. Wan won first prize in the dance competition. Wan was invited to perform on the piano again. Wan ranked in the top 300 in the last monthly exam. That's amazing. No one paid attention to me, the ugly duckling. Even Qin's mother, who was the most excited when she first saw me, was the same. She would instinctively serve Qin Nuanyuan first. She would smile especially tenderly when Qin Nuanyuan acted coquettishly. I habitually choose the colors Chin Wan Wan likes when shopping. I suddenly realized that I might find it hard to compare to Chin Wan Wan. We grew up in different environments, and the resources we have are worlds apart. I don't have any particular talents. The only thing I could be proud of was my academic performance. So I put all my effort into adapting to the new school's teaching methods. During that period, I slept only 3 hours a day. Finally, in the final exams, I ranked among the top 10 in my grade. It doesn't compare to the days when I used to consistently rank first in the county. For me, who had just arrived in the big city, it was already quite an achievement. More importantly, I finally have something I can surpass Chin Wan Wan in. That day, I clutched my report card, my palms drenched in sweat. I could almost imagine the look of surprise in my parents' eyes, along with the praise and recognition from my brothers. But what awaited me was not approval, but punishment, all because of Chin Wan's casual remark. Sister used to study in the county. How could she improve so quickly? Everyone said this exam was difficult. Could it be that she cheated? The Chin family also didn't believe I could be more outstanding than Chin Wan, whom they had personally raised. No one was willing to spend even a moment to verify the truth, and they all unanimously concluded that I had cheated. Father Chin gave me a heavy slap across the face. Mother Chin held the frightened Chin Wan close, looking at me with deep disappointment. Chin Xia, it's okay if your grades aren't good, but our Chin family absolutely cannot have a child who cheats. That was the first time I was driven away, because of misconduct and opportunism. The second time I was taken back to the Chin family, I learned to keep my mouth shut. Until the family recognition banquet, I was falsely accused by Chin Nuanyuan of stealing her necklace. I presented solid evidence on the spot to prove my innocence. I thought I had won. At least I didn't bring shame to the Chin family because of me. But Mr. Chin called me into his study, and his first words were, "Do you know how much you embarrassed the Chin family today?" I stared at him blankly. Even if Nguyen Nguyen accidentally wronged you, couldn't you have resolved it privately? Did you have to make a scene in front of all the guests? Mr. Chin rubbed his temples wearily, but it was clearly Chin Nguyen Nguyen who did it on purpose. I stammered. Chin's mother slapped me in frustration. Chin Xia, why must you compete with Nguyen Nguyen in everything? At that moment, my lips trembled slightly. Am I just supposed to sit there and let everyone confirm the accusation of being a thief? They silently watch me. That look wasn't guilt or heartache, but disappointment. So I was expelled for the second time, because I didn't know how to yield, without considering the overall situation. The next morning, I walked out the door with my backpack on. Right outside, Qin Zheng's car was parked. He and Qin Feng were already sitting inside. The next second, Qin Nuanyuan ran past me from behind, pulled open the car door, and jumped in. I instinctively stopped in my tracks. As usual, Qin Zheng's car was specifically used to send Qin Wan Wan, while I was taken to school by the driver, but Qin Zheng never started the car. I could feel his gaze falling on me through the car window. I kept my eyes down, adjusting the straps of my backpack, pretending not to notice. Big brother, aren't we leaving yet? I'm going to be late, Qin Wan Wan urged impatiently. Big brother grunted in response, then suddenly said to me, aren't you getting in the car? I looked up and met his gaze. Glancing at Qin Wan Wan's pouting expression, I shook my head. No, I'll just wait for the driver. When I first came back, I did ride in Qin Zheng's car, but that very night, Qin Wan Wan developed a rash, a bacterial allergy. She didn't say it outright, but her look, along with the thoughtful expressions of the Qin family, made it clear enough to me. They think I'm dirty. Qin Zheng fell silent for a moment, then said, get in the car. The driver is on leave. I was taken aback. On leave, but no one told me. Looking up, I saw the suppressed smiles on Qin Feng and Qin Wan Wan's faces. Clearly, they had known all along. A bitter feeling welled up inside me. It seems I'm always the last to know about the Qin family's affairs. Thankfully, I'm used to it by now. Actually, I'd like to take the bus too. It's good exercise. I smiled. Qin Zheng frowned, wanting to say more. Qin Feng, sitting in the passenger seat, sneered, big brother. This poor thing has been used to hardship since she was a kid. Don't bother sympathizing with her here. Just let her be. Hurry up. Nguyen Nguyen has a performance this morning. Qin Zheng pursed his lips and withdrew his gaze. The black car drove away. Big brother, you shouldn't have wasted your kindness on that ungrateful person. The wind carried Qin Feng's complaints and the malicious laughter mocking me. Walk down the mountain. It takes over half an hour to get from our house to the bus stop. That country bumpkin will be exhausted to death. Ha ha ha, I was speechless. I turned around and went to the garage to push out the old bicycle that had come with me to the Qin family. I'm not stupid, can't you ride a bike down the mountain? Standing at the classroom door again, I couldn't help but hesitate. I haven't gone in yet. Someone noticed me first. Oh, look who's back, our top student. I thought you'd been kicked out for good this time. The one who spoke was the young master of the Zhou family, Zhou Jin, who whistled at me with a cheeky grin. Lin Xiangyan beside him immediately elbowed him, comforting me. Ignore him, a dog's mouth can't spit out ivory. Lin Xiangyan is the daughter of a jewelry tycoon, delicate in appearance yet straightforward in character. Qin Xia, seriously, why don't you just come to my house and be the real heiress instead? My mom happens to want to give me a little sister. She lowered her voice, curling her lips in disdain. That fake heiress, the green tea girl in your family, TSK, I really don't even want to talk about her. And those people in your Qin family, do they all have holes in their heads? Her family's businesses are spread across the country and abroad, no less impressive than the Qin families, so she speaks without restraint. I smiled and didn't respond. Hey, Qin Xia, are you still taking homework writing jobs? I'm a regular customer, so prioritize me, okay? A chubby figure squeezed over, looking at me with bright, sparkling eyes. It was Jiang Cheng, whose family runs a chain of restaurants. This is a prestigious school. To put it bluntly, it's a place where a bunch of young masters and ladies from top-tier families, who are mostly destined to inherit their family businesses, gather. Homework is a burden for them. For me, however, it's an important source of living expenses, and the teacher, knowing my situation, simply turns a blind eye when they see me just copying articles. Answer it. I nodded with a smile. Other classmates also gathered around. Some were concerned about where I had been all this time. Some were betting on whether I would be kicked out for the third time. All were blocked by Jiang Cheng with his body. It's quite amusing to say. I actually find these spoiled and willful rich kids much simpler than the Qin family. Their likes and dislikes are all laid out on the surface, without so many convoluted little schemes. Among them, Jiang Cheng was especially good to me. When my meal card ran out of money, I would hide in the classroom at noon, drinking cold water to fill my stomach. Without a word, she would drag me to the cafeteria. She ordered a full table of food. Later, I even asked the family nanny to prepare an extra lunch to bring over. I was filled with gratitude. I asked her why she was so good to me. At that time, she stroked her chin and said thoughtfully, perhaps it's because deep down, I have a heart that yearns to uphold justice. Just like when you see a skinny stray cat or dog on the street, you can't help but want to give it a bite to eat. She paused, then grinned widely. And my goal is to turn all the skinny people around me into chubby ones. Plumpness is the future mainstream aesthetic. Qin Xia, do you understand? Very Chinibu. I don't understand. The tears instantly receded. In the following days, the driver responsible for picking me up never returned. The Qin family also seemed to have completely forgotten about the matter and didn't arrange a new driver for me. I can't be bothered to mention it either. Riding my bike down the mountain every day is pure bliss. The only drawback is, sometimes I run into Qin Feng on the road. Qin Zheng has been busy lately, so the task of picking up and dropping off Qin Wan has been handed over to Qin Feng. Ever since Qin Feng found out that I ride my bike down the mountain, his expression has been particularly unpleasant. Every time he sees me on the road, he always deliberately speeds up, leaving me choking on exhaust fumes. Country bumpkin, ride faster. If you go any slower, you'll be late. This time, Qin Feng shouted at me again. Qin Wan giggled from the passenger seat. I chuckled too. Taking advantage of the moment, he accelerated to overtake. I raised my hand and splashed the mineral water into the wide-open car window. Qin Xia, you damn. The remaining half bottle was also splashed in. Qin Feng's furious curses and Qin Wan's screams instantly echoed through the entire street. At least that kept that idiot quiet for a while. That day, I had just stepped out of the school gate, when I saw Qin Zheng's car parked not far away. I was about to avoid it when Qin Wan suddenly caught up to me, giggling and saying, "Sis, you're about to get kicked out by my parents again. How many times is this now?" the third, the fourth. Haha, how can you be so unlikable? I stopped in my tracks and turned to look at her coldly. What? Qin Wanwan still smiled without saying a word, hopping and skipping into the car. I frowned and looked over, only to meet Qin Zheng's gaze. Qin Xia, he called out to me. I quickly averted my eyes. I lowered my head and hurried toward the bus stop, out of the corner of my eye. I caught Qin Zheng's expression darkening instantly. All the way, I kept pondering Qin Wanwan's cryptic, out-of-nowhere remark. I couldn't make heads or tails of it, so I simply stopped thinking about it. Who knows what's gotten into her? Since I came back, she's been making sarcastic remarks behind the Qin family's back, but I haven't let her get the better of me. I was inwardly sneering. Then I saw Qin Zheng standing at the entrance of the house. As soon as I appeared, his gaze fixed on me. I was a bit surprised. Is he waiting for me? Thinking this, I voiced the question aloud. As a result, Qin Zheng just stood there, not responding for a long time. I didn't want to make things awkward, so I quietly walked around him. He suddenly stubbed out his cigarette and spoke abruptly. Qin Xia, stop wearing that sour face all the time. The Qin family doesn't owe you anything. On the contrary, it is you who owes the Qin family a great deal. I paused in my steps. Oh, so you're here to lecture me, huh? I showed no expression as I stepped past him. I turned the doorknob. The next moment, slap, a sudden, heavy blow struck me completely unprepared. Immediately after, came the furious roar of Mr. Qin, ungrateful daughter, kneel down. My head was knocked to the side from the blow, ears buzzing, a metallic, bloody taste spread in my mouth. I pressed my lips tightly together, yet still managed to ask, what did I do wrong? That remark seemed to completely ignite Father Qin's fury. He grabbed the teacup from the table and hurled it, his voice sharp and harsh. How dare you even ask? Still pretending, aren't you? Shards flew everywhere, grazing the corner of my eye, stinging sharply. I lifted my suddenly blurred eyes, my gaze slowly sweeping over the Qin family members present. Qin Wanwan raised her lips, looking quite smug. Qin Feng wore a face full of schadenfreude. Mother Qin remained silent, meeting my gaze. Qin Feng raised an eyebrow, his tone cool. Dad, don't you know what Qin Xia is like? She's as stubborn as a mule. If she were willing to kneel down and admit her mistakes, she wouldn't have been kicked out twice already. I think we should just give up. This kind of ungrateful wretch isn't worth keeping in the Qin family. Seeing her father's face grow increasingly livid, Qin Nuanyuan stepped forward, pretending to be considerate and smooth things over, but in reality, she was adding fuel to the fire. Dad, sister grew up in the countryside and is used to being wild. She lacks proper upbringing, so it's understandable that some bad habits are hard to break. Please don't be too angry. Before the words had even finished, Qin Nuanyuan's eyes widened in shock, and Qin Feng abruptly straightened up, with a thud sound. I had already knelt straight down. The furious Mr. Qin was stunned. Even Qin Zheng, who had just walked through the door, was taken aback, a deathly silence, until Mrs. Qin suddenly let out a sharp, ah, and abruptly sprang up from the sofa, grabbing me tightly. Xia, get up. Your father was just speaking in anger for a moment. How could you treat yourself like this, as the daughter of the Qin family? Don't you have any self-respect? I pressed down on my legs with all my strength. I wouldn't let her pull me up, since I was already kneeling. Getting up so quickly wouldn't be worth it. I had lost the bet twice. I don't dare to gamble anymore, nor do I want to. In the past, I was foolish, unable to recognize my own position, always wasting time with these heartless people. Now that I think about it, it's utterly ridiculous. Besides, how much is self-respect worth? Can it be eaten as a meal? Better than going back to that hellhole. Seeing that she couldn't drag me away no matter how hard she tried, Mrs. Qin's tears instantly welled up. She suddenly turned to Mr. Qin, directing her anger at him. It's just helping classmates at school and earning a little pocket money on the side. What's the big deal? Qin Xia is relying on her own hard work. She didn't steal or rob. What did she do wrong? Qiningjia is the daughter I worked so hard to give birth to meant for you to hit, scold, and force to kneel. Qin's father was taken aback by his wife's sudden and intense reaction. Why the sudden surge of motherly love? Qin's father was puzzled, but his voice didn't falter. Now the whole city is saying that our Qin family mistreats our own daughter, forcing her to earn tips at school. She has completely disgraced the Chin family's reputation. He pointed at me with frustration, as if disappointed that I was not living up to his expectations. Does the allowance the Chin family give you not cover your expenses? Is it really necessary to engage in such petty, low-class activities at school? I seized the moment to interject. They didn't give me any. What do you mean they didn't give you any? How dare you talk back? Your adoptive parents were right. You really are a habitual liar. Chin's father roared in anger, raising his hand as if to strike again. Mrs. Chin, however, stopped crying upon hearing the sound. She whispered to Mr. Chin. Honey, did you give Chin Xia an allowance? Mr. Chin was taken aback. Wasn't it your responsibility? They looked at each other, fell silent, face quickly flushing red, suddenly remembered. They always habitually gave Chin Nuanyuan large sums of pocket money, but when I cautiously asked for some pocket money for the first time, I was met with cold words. Just arrived and already reaching out for money. Nuan is delicate and has many expenses, but what about you? What can you be used for? Haven't you been given living expenses? Truly insatiable. I wanted to explain that there were no living expenses, but they had already turned away impatiently. Mrs. Chin looked utterly embarrassed, unable to continue crying. Chin's father opened his mouth and then closed it. After a long pause, he took out his phone and tapped on it a few times before saying, "From now on, I'll transfer a sum to you every month." I looked down. A deposit of 50,000 yuan arrived in the bank card. I blinked. Chin Nuanyuan's monthly allowance was 300,000 yuan. Chin's father saw me staring at my phone and thought I was feeling down. Clearing his throat lightly, "You're not like Nuanyuan, you've never handled large sums of money. Here's 50,000. It should be enough for you." I nodded eagerly. 50,000. This is 50,000 yuan. I eat and live at the Chin family's place, and I have side gigs for extra income, so I can save almost all of this 50,000. If things keep going like this, by the time the college entrance exams are over, I'll have a decent amount of savings. With that interruption, no one brought up the matter of denouncing me again. Of course, no one apologized for it either. The proud Chin family will never bow their heads and admit their mistakes. They might even continue to shift the blame onto me. Sure enough, Mr. Chin frowned and began to lecture me again. "I'll let it slide this time, but remember, you're a member of the Chin family. You need to act with propriety and stop doing such embarrassing, laughable things." I responded with a vague, as I walked toward the side room. "Dad, I don't think Chin Xia is even listening to you." Chin Feng snorted, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Look at her, so obsessed with money. It's that ingrained stinginess that even marrying into a wealthy family can't wash away." Chin Nuanu gently tugged at Chin Feng's sleeve. "Second brother, that's just how sister is. Not very likable. Besides, I was the one who wronged her today. If you keep saying things like that, I'll feel so guilty I won't be able to sleep." I couldn't be bothered to argue with them. After all, if I didn't leave soon, my knee pads were going to slip off. Having suffered so many losses before, it would be inexcusable not to be prepared this time. In the room, I had just finished removing my knee pads. Mrs. Chin suddenly pushed the door open and entered. Seeing me sitting there motionless, she sighed and placed the milk on the table. "Mom knows you were wrong today, but don't blame your dad. It's just that you have a history, so he couldn't hold back his temper." Nuan meant well. "Afraid you might go astray." She took a step closer. I shifted my butt to the side, blocking the knee pads. She thought I was resisting communication. Sighing again, her voice choked with tears, she said, "Xia, why do you feel so distant from me now? Do you also think I'm biased?" I pulled the corner of my mouth in exasperation. "Isn't it obvious? Seeing me like this?" Mrs. Chin's tears fell as she urgently grabbed my hand. "Mom isn't saying she doesn't care about you, but we've raised Nuan for over 10 years. The bond isn't something you can just cut off. You know your adoptive parents aren't good people. Should we really send her back to suffer?" I froze, clenching my fingers tightly. "Do you know those two aren't good people?" Chin's mother was taken aback for a moment and blurted out, "Of course, otherwise, why would we have kept Nuan here?" She sneered disdainfully. What kind of good could come from a child raised in that kind of family? Nuan would suffer greatly if she went back. I was stunned and wanted to ask. "Then why did you drive me back? You clearly know everything." But the next second, what she said left me unable to ask. Nguyen Nguyen is different from you. She has been cherished by us since childhood and has never suffered any hardship, so she can be a bit willful. You are the older sister. Please be more understanding and give in to her a little, okay? I was stunned for quite a while. Aren't we born on the same day? Mother Chin was at a loss for words and scolded me. Chin Xia. Why do you have to argue about this too? I couldn't quite bring myself to smile. Fortunately, by thinking more about the 50,000 yuan in my bank card, I managed to force a smile. Don't worry, I will never compete with Qin Nuanyuan. I don't want your love either. It all belongs to her. She will always be your good daughter. Is that enough? Qin's mother suddenly stood up in agitation. Qin Xia, are you resenting me? I looked at her in confusion, can't help but mutter. Isn't this asking a question you already know the answer to? Qin's mother's face flushed red, and she stormed out angrily. I fell silent for a few seconds, quickly opened my phone to check the balance and calm my nerves. Watching on, my mood brightened once again. I couldn't help but give myself a light slap. Qin Xia, wake up, I muttered to myself into the air. Look at the wonderful life you're living now. Living in a 1,000-square-meter mansion, attending the best schools. With tens of thousands of dollars in your bank account, it's nothing like before, when you were hungry and cold, constantly beaten and scolded, always on guard against being sold off. What more are you fighting for? That's enough. Be content, Qin Xia. I repeated it over and over in my heart. I drifted into dreamland. Until 3 in the morning, I got up. I went straight to Qin Wanwan's room. She was sleeping soundly. Completely defenseless, I stared at her and said coldly, "Weren't you too guilty to sleep? How can you sleep so soundly?" Qin Wanwan opened her eyes in confusion, meeting my deep, penetrating gaze. In the next second, a piercing scream rang out. The Qin family was thrown into turmoil. I hurried back to my room to catch up on some sleep. The next day, the Qin family looked at me with complex expressions, as if they had something to say but held back. Qin Feng gritted his teeth and muttered under his breath, "Madman," as soon as the words were spoken. He was hurriedly pulled away by Qin Nuanyuan. The Qin family suddenly changed. Mr. Qin, for the first time ever, noticed that I didn't have a car to take me to and from school, and immediately arranged a driver for me. Mrs. Qin, who had previously only asked Qin Nuanyuan to accompany her to high-end shopping malls, also suddenly suggested that I go with her. I was surprised, but I refused. Qin Zheng occasionally chats with me a bit, but my attitude has always been lukewarm. I only genuinely smile when I'm collecting money. Every time this happens, Qin Feng would mock me from the side. Look at the face of this poor wretch, as if they've never seen money before. Hey, whatever he says, I've genuinely never seen so much money before. That day, Jiang Cheng, Lin Xiangnian, and Zhou Jin insisted on coming to my house to copy notes. I couldn't resist them, and since it was still early, I agreed. Returning home, I bumped into Qin's parents and Qin Wanwan, who were dressed in formal attire and about to head out. I greeted them, going out to eat with Qin Wanwan. The three behind me chimed in unison, "Hello, uncle and auntie, taking your daughter out for a meal." I rolled my eyes in exasperation. After a moment of silence, Mrs. Qin awkwardly explained, "There happens to be a dinner gathering tonight." I nodded. Oh, it suddenly dawned on me. No wonder neither Qin Zheng nor Qin Feng were coming home tonight. It was a family dinner. I was just thinking about it when Zhou Jin blurted it out. "Qin Xia, you just said your eldest and second brothers weren't home for dinner. Turns out it was a family gathering, and they just didn't invite you." Mrs. Qin grew even more embarrassed and quickly explained, "We thought you wouldn't be interested in such occasions, so we didn't tell you." Mr. Qin's face flushed with embarrassment as well, and he immediately took out his phone to transfer some money. "Take your classmates out for a bite to eat. 100,000 has been deposited." I was taken aback, my eyes lighting up. "Thank you, hope you and your family enjoy the meal." I happily accepted it and ran upstairs with my people, seeing that I didn't care about them in the slightest. Mr. and Mrs. Qin were a bit stunned. After a long while, Mrs. Qin muttered, "How has this child become like this? Are we, as parents, supposed to humble ourselves and apologize to her? Outrageous. Since when do parents apologize to their children?" Mr. Qin scolded in a low voice. "Ah, Nguyen Nguyen is so considerate. If only Nguyen Nguyen were our own daughter, They think they've already taken the initiative to reach out to me, but I'm just being ungrateful. They were all angry and stopped paying attention to me, except for sending the allowance on time. Finally, there were no more inexplicable attempts to get close. I breathed a sigh of relief. This family's sudden, insincere concern really makes me uncomfortable. The short holiday arrived in the blink of an eye. On the first day of the holiday, I got up early for once. As soon as I went downstairs, I saw the Chin family all dressed in vacation style. They were pulling suitcases. It looked like they were going on a family trip. Perhaps they didn't expect me to be up so early. And being caught red-handed, the whole family seemed a bit awkward. I quickly turned my head away, wanting to turn back and pretend I hadn't seen anything, but Chin Wan called out to me, "Sister, Mom, Dad, and my brothers want to take me on a vacation to Hawaii before I go abroad. They decided on it last minute last night, and since you were asleep, we didn't dare disturb you." Chin Wan had applied to a school abroad and wouldn't be taking the college entrance exam. I hummed an agreement and was about to head back to my room. Chin's mother caught up to me. "Xia, why don't you come along?" I shook my head and replied calmly, "No, I need to study." Tisk, pretending to be all proper. Chin Fong crossed his arms and looked at me. "If I didn't know better, I'd think you were aiming to come back as the top scholar in the imperial exams." I replied, "I'll do my best." Chin Fong clicked his tongue. "Chin Xia, if you can actually become the top scholar, I'll kowtow to you as many times as you want." I looked up at him and suddenly smiled. "Then you'd better start building up your strength now, so you don't run out of energy when the time comes." Chin Fong was taken aback, turning to look at Chin Nuanyuan. "What does she mean? Didn't you say her grades were terrible? Has she lost her mind from studying?" Chin Nuanyuan forced an awkward laugh and hastily changed the subject. How could Chin Nuanyuan not know about my grades? The Chin family never paid any attention to me. In their eyes, I am a stain. They are ashamed to mention me in public, let alone care about my studies and life. Even after it was later proven that I did not cheat that time, they stubbornly insisted that I had just gotten lucky by chance. In the end, deep down, they do not recognize me. But Chin Wan, who is in the same grade, must be well aware of it. It's just that, clearly, she has been keeping it from everyone. And I don't know how she usually portrays me. Seeing my resolute attitude, Chin's mother hesitated and said, "How about I stay here with you?" I was just about to say it's not necessary. Chin Fong impatiently urged from outside, "Mom, if we don't leave now, we're going without you." Mrs. Chin glanced at me, then looked outside, and without even waiting for my response, she decisively chased after them. In the end, the offer to stay was just a polite gesture. She didn't want to. I don't care either. With the Chin family gone, I live a fulfilling and relaxed life. I bury myself in hard study. In the meantime, Jiang Cheng and Lin Xiangyan dragged me out for a shopping trip and a movie. It lasted until the end of the holiday. The Chin family never returned. That evening, Mrs. Chin even called me, saying they would stay a bit longer. Before she could finish, I heard Chin Nuanyuan's voice on the other end. "Mom, our whole family is here. Who are you still talking to on the phone?" Chin's mother hastily added, "We'll definitely be back before the college entrance exams." With that, she hung up instantly. On the day the Chin family returned, I moved overnight to one of Jiang Cheng's apartments. It was close to the exam venue and had a quiet environment. Until the exam was over, I dragged my luggage back to the Chin family home. At the dinner table, Mrs. Chin served me some food. "Chin Xia, why did you go out during the college entrance exams instead of staying at home? You didn't even ask your brother to pick you up or drop you off, and you didn't even call. You're such a kid, really. Sounds like you really care about me." But they never actually came to find me. Those days, my phone was as quiet as if it were broken. "You're being too loud," I replied calmly. Chin's father frowned and retorted, "What does that have to do with you not living at home? You're not taking the exam at home anyway." Before the college entrance exam, what's most needed is a quiet environment to settle down. I looked at him and said calmly, "None of you have taken the college entrance exam, so it's normal that you wouldn't know." The Chin family, Mr. Chin, is quite fond of the idea of gilding with an overseas education, so both Chin Zhang and Chin Fong studied abroad, and now Chin Wan is doing the same, but he never stops to think, can the gilding from a third-rate university really compare to that from an Ivy League school? Qin Feng snorted, trying to regain his footing. I bet her grades were so poor she was too ashamed to show her face, so she sneaked off to take the exam and be done with it. Qin Zheng frowned. Forget it, let's not talk about it anymore. I buried my head in my meal, can't be bothered with them. After the college entrance exams ended, Jiang Cheng, Lin Xiangyan, and Zhou Jin insisted on dragging me along for a graduation trip. As we were heading out, we ran into Qin Feng, seeing me with my suitcase. He immediately sneered, "You won't go on a family trip, but you're eager to hang out with outsiders. Do we mean less to you than your friends outside?" Upon hearing this, Qin's mother and Qin Zheng both looked at me disapprovingly. "You have such a sharp tongue, no wonder you can't make friends. Naturally, you wouldn't know that friendships require genuine effort to maintain." I grinned and added, "Besides, you really don't compare to my friends," ignoring Qin Feng's furious outburst. I simply turned and walked away. After a wild outing, I returned home. The results were also out. I was the top scorer in the college entrance examination. When the call reached Father Qin, he was first shocked, then overjoyed, rushing home from the company with a beaming face, eager to give an interview to the reporter. Unfortunately, I had already taken the homeroom teacher to finish the interview at school earlier. He couldn't even catch a glimpse of the reporter. Father Qin was somewhat disappointed, but still excited, looking at me with great satisfaction. Truly a child of the Qin family, nothing less than expected. Qin's mother was also moved to the point of tears. All right, all right, all right. Qin Zheng also nodded. Indeed, only Qin Feng clicked his tongue in displeasure. After the initial joy, Qin's father suddenly turned to the uneasy Qin Nuanyuan. "Nuanyuan, why did you always say your sister had poor grades, making your mother and I misunderstand? Otherwise, we wouldn't have gone on a trip and missed such an important event as the college entrance exam." Qin Nuanyuan's face turned pale as she clutched the hem of her clothes. "Dad, I've been busy preparing applications for schools abroad and haven't paid much attention to what's happening at school." When others said my sister's grades were poor, I believed them. Maybe it's because my sister's personality is a bit aloof and not very likable. So others deliberately spread rumors to drive a wedge between us. I rolled my eyes directly, all day long. "It's unpleasant, unpleasant." Qin Wan, besides gossiping and playing the victim, is there anything else you can do with that mouth of yours? The results are posted so prominently on the bulletin board. Are you completely blind? Or are you just selectively ignoring them? Qin Wan's eyes reddened, and Qin Feng immediately jumped in. "Qin Xia, don't go too far. Wan is just too naive, which is why she easily trusts others and gets used as a pawn. Don't think that just because you're the top scorer, you can be so aggressive." I rolled my eyes again, even more dramatically. "Who's really being used as a pawn here, since you're so eager? Are you ready to kneel and kowtow?" He immediately fell silent. "Heh. Come on, don't tell me someone's going back on their word," I teased. "You," interrupted by Father Qin. "All right, stop arguing. The wealthy family lacks nothing, but a top scorer in the college entrance exam is still a rare sight." Father Qin, who has always valued his reputation, immediately decided to host a grand celebration banquet, aiming to make a big splash. To that end, he asked me how I wanted to organize the banquet, saying he would follow my lead entirely, as this was my reward. I asked if I could get something more substantial. He thought for a moment and, for the first time ever, gave me 3% of the shares. When Qin Wan found out, she was so angry her nose practically twisted. After all, she didn't have any. She was giving me some really nasty looks those few days. During the preparations for the banquet, I caught her sneaking phone calls in her room several times. Whenever I bumped into her, she would give me a sinister smile. I gave a slight, wry smile. Clearly up to no good. Sure enough, on the day of the banquet, Qin Wan made her move. At the banquet, Mr. Qin had just finished speaking, when it was my turn to take the stage. Suddenly, a commotion erupted outside the door as a plainly dressed middle-aged couple barged in, dragging along a plump man with vacant eyes. They were my adoptive parents, Chen Gang and Zhang Ling. Zhang Ling scanned the room, her gaze locking onto me on the stage. She pushed the foolish man forward and suddenly wailed at the top of her lungs, "Qin Xia, ever since you married into a wealthy family, you've only cared about your own comfort. completely forgetting about me, your father, and your husband, my poor son-in-law. He paid the bride price, held the wedding, and even slept with you, yet his wife ran away. Everyone was stunned by her words. The fool grinned, reaching out to grab me. Wife. My wife. I quickly hid behind Chin Feng. That fool then clung to Chin Feng, smearing him with dirty saliva and snot. What the hell? Chin Feng was stunned for a moment, and after realizing what happened, he instantly went crazy. Where are the security guards? Are they all dead? Zhang Ling, upon hearing this, rushed over and grabbed my hand. Qin Xia, you heartless woman, this is your man, you've already accepted the betrothal gifts. Are you just going to stand by and watch us get kicked out, seeing me being pulled? Qin's mother tried to intervene, but her strength was no match for someone who worked in the fields. She was shoved aside and fell to the ground in a sorry state. Mrs. Qin was utterly dumbfounded. Mr. Qin trembled with rage, pointing at Chen Gang and the others. A bunch of troublemakers. Security, get them out of here. Security guards swarmed in. For a moment, the scene descended into utter chaos. Caught by the security guard, Zhang Ling still refused to give up, shrieking. Does being the top scorer in the college entrance exam mean you can be ungrateful? Everyone, come and judge for yourselves. Even if we're not her biological parents, we worked hard to raise her. Now that she's successful, she won't acknowledge us and even has people lay hands on us. We just want to seek justice for my son-in-law. What did we do wrong? Upon hearing this, the surrounding guests wore varied expressions. Discussions erupted one after another. Qin Feng's face was livid. And he gritted his teeth, saying, Dad, I told you long ago to drive her away. She's nothing but an ungrateful wretch. Now the Qin family's reputation has been tarnished by her. Who would dare marry a daughter of the Qin family in the future? How will Nguyen Nguyen ever get married? Qin Nguyen Nguyen stood nearby, her eyes red and teary. I never expected my sister to do something so shameful. Qin father's expression was dark and gloomy. Qin Zheng frowned at me. Qin Xia, if you really did it, just admit it, don't make things difficult for us. Zhang Ling immediately chimed in. Everyone in our village can testify. Amidst a chorus of accusations, I chuckled, looking at my smug foster parents in front of me. You're saying I married him? I pointed at the fool who was still trying to cling to Qin Feng. Chen Gang's eyes flickered. Of course. Oh, I said slowly. If I remember correctly, I just turned 18 last month, when you accepted the bride price and married me off. I was still a minor. Chen Gang stiffened his neck. Isn't that normal? Which girl in the village isn't like that? Legally ignorant. I turned to everyone present and declared firmly, according to the law, placing a minor in a de facto marriage under the guise of a bride price is equivalent to the crime of trafficking. It carries a sentence of 5 years or more in prison, and in particularly severe cases, the death penalty. I looked at them, my voice calm. So, you sold me when I was still a minor. Is that right? Zhang Ling panicked and instinctively retorted, No, what was it not? I stepped closer. Did you not sell me off, or did you not marry me off, or are you here today specifically to spread rumors about me? Were you instructed to do so? My gaze sweeps over my pale-faced adoptive parents. By the way, a reminder, the sentencing for defamation and human trafficking differs greatly. Think carefully before you speak. With so many distinguished guests here today, including some of the top lawyers in the industry, every word you say could become evidence. My adoptive parents grow even paler, their eyes darting nervously through the crowd. Suddenly, the adoptive father, as if grasping at a life-saving straw, raised his hand and pointed in a direction, shouting loudly, It's her, she was the one who ordered it. All eyes turned. Following the direction of his finger, they saw Qin Nuanyuan, who was nestled beside Mrs. Qin. Before you were taken back, she secretly came to see us. She gave us a lot of money, in an effort to clear himself of the charges. Chen Gang spilled everything like pouring out beans. She told us to say as many bad things about you as possible in front of the Qin family, that you were disobedient, a habitual liar, and had sticky fingers. The worse we made you sound, the more money she gave us. Later, when you were sent back, she even said the Qin family didn't want you anymore and told us to marry you off as soon as possible. That fool was also the one she picked for you. Arya, Nguyen Nguyen, say something. We're your biological parents. Are you really going to watch us go to jail? He rushed over to grab Qin Nguyen Nguyen, pushed away by Qin Wanwan's scream. Disgusting, don't touch me, I'm not your daughter, I'm the heiress of the Qin family. Ah, bastard, before Qin Wanwan could finish her sentence, she was slapped hard by her father. Dad, why are you hitting Wanwan? Qin Feng instinctively shielded Qin Wanwan. How can you just believe the one-sided words of two poor devils? Maybe they're in cahoots with Qin Xia, that fool. Slap, another slap landed on Qin Feng's face. Qin's father was furious. Shut up. I think you're the one who's acting like a fool. Seeing the situation turn sour, Chen Gang lunged at Qin Nuanyuan like a madman. You little brat, give us the money right now. Qin Feng went to help. A group of people immediately started brawling. The banquet descended into chaos. I took advantage of the confusion and ran out. Jiang Cheng and the other two were already waiting for me at the door. I got straight into the car and headed directly to the airport. Tomorrow is the registration day. University, here I come. Chen Gang and Zhang Ling still did not escape legal punishment. Not just the incident at the banquet, the couple's abuse of me over the past decade was also exposed. The true heiress of the Qin family grew up enduring bullying in her adoptive parents' home. The Qin family, however, favored the fake heiress and isolated and mistreated the real one. This incident caused the Qin family to lose face in high society. Mr. Qin was furious and naturally did not let them off. As for Qin Nuanyuan, she still managed to avoid being driven out of the Qin family. Qin's father told her to leave, but Qin Feng refused, kneeling down and pleading desperately, Dad, Nuanyuan has congenital heart disease. If you drive her out, how will she survive? Qin's father, thinking about the immense loss of face, grew furious and insisted on sending her away. As a result, the terrified Qin Nuanyuan immediately suffered a heart attack. Seeing this, Mrs. Qin's heart softened, and she pleaded for mercy on her behalf together with Qin Zheng. After all, she is the daughter who has been doted on for over a decade. Qin's father still kept her. However, none of this has anything to do with me anymore. I have already started a busy and happy life at university. Lin Xiangyan went abroad, and Jiang Cheng is studying at the school next to mine. Zhou Jinza and I are from the same school. Don't be fooled by his carefree appearance. He's actually a top student. Before I arrived, he was always ranked first in his grade. I didn't go home during holidays or weekends. Either I traveled with Jiang Cheng and the others, or I went to Jiang Cheng's or Lin Xiangyan's home, where their parents treated me like their own daughter. They were much better than the Qin family. Qin's mother also called to ask me, Xia, why haven't you been coming home? Beijing isn't far from home, you know, on the other end of the line. I could also hear Qin Nuanyuan's coquettish laughter. Mom, second brother is asking you to come play mahjong. Qin Nuanyuan ultimately didn't go abroad. At the overseas university she attended, many wealthy young ladies had heard about her notorious reputation back home and kept their distance from her. She only studied for a week before crying and flying back home. Yet she wasn't welcomed back in the country either. Wherever she went, she faced exclusion from the daughters of prominent families. She simply holed up at home, refusing to go anywhere. The Qin family indulged her in this. I smiled faintly. Do you really have no idea why I won't go back? Mrs. Qin fell silent for a moment. She awkwardly hung up, not daring to press further. During university, I tried to set up a studio. Jiang Qinglin and Zhou Jin, upon learning about it, clamored and insisted on helping, especially Jiang Cheng. In her own words, she wanted to follow me into a high-end industry to finally hold her head high. Since Jiang Cheng's family made their fortune in the catering business, she was often looked down upon in wealthy circles. Some even mockingly called her father and her, the head chef, and the little chef, and those self-proclaimed high society young ladies didn't care to include her in their circles. Just don't mind us causing trouble. I blinked my moist eyes. I understood in my heart. In truth, they lacked nothing. They just wanted to lend me a hand. In the blink of an eye, a semester had passed. My studio was becoming more and more successful. Just at that moment, Father Qin called, his voice sounding somewhat weary. Qin Xia, your second brother is in trouble. Qin Feng is paralyzed because of Qin Wanwan. For the better part of this year, the Qin family has faced constant ridicule and sarcasm whenever they go out, all because of Qin Wanwan. Amidst repeated humiliations, the love of Qin's parents for Qin Wanwan gradually wore away. They think Qin Wan Wan is a stain on the Qin family, just like how they saw me back in the day, so I decided to send her off for an arranged marriage. Is a nouveau riche family of low social standing, but he is a good person, and for Qin Wan Wan today, it's considered a good family to have chosen. But how could Qin Wan Wan be willing? She was once the glorious and unparalleled eldest daughter of the Qin family. How could she marry down to a nouveau riche? So she confessed her feelings to Qin Feng. She was convinced that Qin Feng's unwavering support for her stemmed from feelings that went beyond sibling affection. As a result, the confession scene was witnessed by the entire family. Qin's mother was instantly enraged and slapped her hard across the face. Because of this, the Qin family accelerated the process of the arranged marriage. Qin Wan Wan never imagined that Qin Feng truly only had brotherly feelings for her. After this incident, every member of the Qin family treated Qin Wan Wan with cold disdain. Filled with resentment, she completely turned to the dark side. She even sneaked into her father's study, stole the core documents of the Qin family, and planned to sell them to their rivals. Unexpectedly, it was discovered by Qin Feng. During the argument, Qin Nuanyuan ran away with the USB drive. Qin Feng went after her. Not only did I fail to catch up, but I was also hit by a car. Paralyzed, I still went back to Haicheng. When I arrived at the hospital room, only Qin Feng was there. Seeing me, he was also somewhat taken aback. He smiled bitterly and said, "I thought you wouldn't come." I nodded. I didn't want to, mainly because after Qin Feng's incident, reporters have been secretly following me, afraid of being smeared by public opinion and affecting the company's development. I had no choice but to come. After all, conflicts within wealthy families are a ready-made source of sensational drama. I set down the dogtail flower I casually picked up on the way, finished reading. "I'm leaving." "Wait a moment." Qin Feng was taken aback, called out to me, and suddenly said, "I'm sorry." I raised an eyebrow, somewhat surprised. I also smiled. "I don't accept your apology, to be honest." In the entire Qin family, apart from Qin Wan Wan, Qin Feng harbors the greatest malice toward me. Qin's father and mother simply have no affection for me, thus, they are indifferent and reluctant to offer any attention. After all, they prefer children like Qin Wan Wan, thoughtful, good at acting cute, able to play the piano at banquets, and bringing them pride. My dullness and lack of sweet talk naturally make me unappealing to them, but Qin Feng is different. He genuinely despises me to the core. Qin Feng's eyes turned red. "What I'm saying is not that kind of." "I'm sorry." I froze. He closed his eyes, as if mustering all his strength to say, "Back then, you and Nuanyuan weren't switched by the nurses. It was me who swapped you two." My footsteps suddenly halted. Back then, Qin's mother unexpectedly became pregnant with me, as I was a child born late in her life. The Qin family was filled with anticipation for my birth. As the youngest in the family, Qin Feng was originally the most beloved. Many people teased him, "When your little sister comes, Mom and Dad and your big brother won't like you anymore. They'll only dote on your sister." Qin Feng, who had been looking forward to his sister's arrival, suddenly lost all anticipation. Later, the whole family went to the small town to escape the summer heat. Midway through, something happened at the old house, and Father Qin took Qin Zheng away temporarily. Before Father Qin could return, Mother Qin suddenly went into labor early. That night, Qin Feng saw his tiny, soft little sister. He should have been overjoyed, thinking of how excited my parents would be, yet, I couldn't feel happy. Coincidentally, he overheard a young couple talking. Their newborn daughter might have health issues and needed expensive tests, but they had no money. They were discussing abandoning the child. Young Qin Feng suddenly had a thought flash through his mind. He thought to himself, "Let me help someone else." He gave his sister to the other party, and they gained a healthy daughter. He wouldn't have to see the little sister his mother gave birth to either, so he secretly swapped them. "I never thought you'd be found again. I've always felt guilty about you, unable to face you." He was in tears. I felt a bit sick. No wonder Qin Feng never liked me and wanted to drive me away. "You unfilial son." The hospital room door was abruptly pushed open. Qin's father roared as he charged in, disregarding Qin Feng's injuries, and began beating him. Qin's mother also cried out, scratching him. "So it was you who harmed my biological daughter. You harmed your sister. You've destroyed our family." Qin Zheng looked at his parents, who seemed to be on the verge of madness, then turned to me, hesitating as if wanting to speak but holding back. I quickly turned around and ran away. Although Qin Wanwan was eventually caught, the confidential information still ended up being leaked. The core competitiveness of the Qin group plummeted. What followed was a plummeting stock price and fleeing shareholders. Partners are terminating their contracts one after another. In a short span of time, the Qin family's prestigious status has been repeatedly diminished. The glory days are gone. Qin's father even called me, ordering me to transfer the shares back to help with emergency cash flow. Upon hearing this, I simply smiled faintly and said, "Sold." It all started when they insisted on keeping Qin Wanwan. I sold my shares in the Qin family company. I sold them at their peak, which became the startup capital for my studio. In the blink of an eye, graduation season arrived. The new product developed by my team became a huge hit, and its valuation skyrocketed. I quickly rose to become a rising star in the industry. During this time, Qin's mother and father often called me. When I was busy, I would simply hang up. During my free time, I would occasionally answer, "Xia xia, the house feels so empty. When are you coming back to visit? It's been so long since anyone has gone shopping with me, Mrs." Qin's voice was full of anticipation. Many things in the past were my fault. Now the family business is struggling more and more. It would be great if you could come back and give your older brother a hand, Mr. Qin shamelessly pleaded. Look at the two sons you've raised. One a big waist, the other a little waist. I laughed. If you're that bored, have that useless cripple in the wheelchair take you out to get some sun more often, and stop daydreaming so much. A heavy breathing sound came from the other end of the phone. Clearly, Qin Zhang and Qin Feng were also listening. Father Qin wanted to say something more, but I coldly interrupted him. All right, I'm hanging up. You all are just guarding a small, shabby company, so of course you have it easy. I'm managing such a large group, and it's exhausting and tough. I really don't have time to play along with your games anymore. At this moment, my Summer Moon group had already successfully gone public, and the once prominent Qin family has now vanished without a trace in the circle of the wealthy. After hanging up the phone, I looked at the flowers swaying on the windowsill, blinked my eyes, only felt somewhat ridiculous, with a touch of melancholy. The repentance of the Qin family, their belated love, is nothing more than a result of our unequal status. They say they love me, yet they never asked if I was eating well, sleeping well, or if work was tiring. It's still the same hypocritical and selfish routine. So, in the face of their current attempts to please my heart, it's really hard to feel even a slight ripple of emotion. Lost in thought, Jiang Cheng suddenly rushed into my house, dragging a suitcase. "Qin Xia, what are you daydreaming about? Let's get going." At the entrance of the residential complex, Zhou Jin leaned against the car, exuding an air of noble elegance. Now, he was the undisputed authority of the Zhou group. He looked at me, smiling carelessly. "Don't even think about skipping our annual trip." Lin Xiangyan came running over, carrying bags big and small. "Qin Xia, I brought your favorite snacks." I smiled, and went to greet her. Actually, the Qin family still taught me one lesson. Blood ties might not be as important as I thought. Only those who truly treat you well without reservation, regardless of whether there is a blood bond, all are family.